Welcome to Billievers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to this Could It Happen Buffalo Sports edition of Billievers Talk, where we take a topic in Buffalo sports and we ask ourselves, could it happen? Again, thank you guys for joining me on this edition of Billievers Talk. My name is Joe. If you're new to this channel, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. We keep you updated on all Buffalo Bills news. After you hit that subscribe button, you want to hit that notification bell. YouTube will notify you when we go live and when we post new Buffalo Bills content like this video, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the topic in this video, and that is, could it happen? Could Brandon Beane and this front office make another splash move in free agency? So we're going to talk about free agency. Obviously, free agency started March 18th, so it's about 3 weeks old now. But we want to ask ourselves, could the Buffalo Bills make another move? We've seen what the Buffalo Bills have done in free agency so far, bringing in some big-name players. Biggest name, of course, being Stefon Diggs, who they brought in a trade with the Minnesota Vikings. But there are still some big-name free agents out there, and could the Buffalo Bills grab one of them, as some of Bills Mafia is hoping for? So we're going to talk about that. First, let's talk about those big names, right? Who is left in free agency? Well, according to CBS.com, you look at their top 100 free agent list from before free agency began. There are 6 names that I really want to talk about that are still available in free agency. First of which being Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney, defensive end, formerly of the Houston Texans, spent last year with the Seattle Seahawks. We'll talk about him a little bit. We'll talk about some of his stats and see if the Buffalo Bills would be interested in him. Cam Newton was released by the Carolina Panthers, so everyone wants to talk about Cam Newton possibly being a backup in Buffalo. If you have watched the collab that we did with Hashtag Sports, with Mario from Hashtag Sports, and with Dan Mitchell from the Don Mafia Report, you know how I feel about the Cam Newton idea. I'll let you in on that a little bit later when we talk about Cam Newton and also see if we could actually do it. Jameis Winston, kind of the same boat as Cam Newton. Logan Ryan, cornerback, spent last year with the Tennessee Titans. We're going to talk about him. Some people still say cornerback's a question. We've addressed it pretty well in free agency with the signing of Josh Norman and others along the way. Levi Wallace comes back, to just name a few. So it feels like we've addressed that pretty well, but could we get a stud cornerback in Logan Ryan? Jason Peters, we remember Jason Peters used to be a Buffalo Bill. Now that he's coming into his 18th season in the NFL, do the Buffalo Bills want to bring him back and see what he has to remain as an anchor maybe on that offensive line? And then Eli Apple, again, a position that we've addressed pretty well so far, that safety cornerback position, defensive back position. But is Eli Apple the kind of guy we want to bring into Buffalo, maybe, again, improve that cornerback position? And can the Buffalo Bills afford him? When you talk about being able to afford a player, obviously you talk about salary cap. Where do the Buffalo Bills sit on salary cap? We knew that in the beginning of the offseason, the Buffalo Bills were 3rd in salary cap. So we knew we were in a place to spend some money, and we were spending it, right? We talk about Quentin Jefferson. You talk about re-signing some old Bills. You talk about that big Stefon Diggs trade. We've been using that money. So where do we sit right now? Well, if you look at SpotTrack.com, and according to SpotTrack, this includes all of the Buffalo Bills contracts, including their most recent signings and restructurings of contracts. The Buffalo Bills sit at $20 million plus, so $20.7 million in salary cap space. And that might sound like a decent chunk of money, and it is. It's not anything to sneeze at. We're still in pretty good shape when it comes to salary cap money. But remember when I did my earlier video talking about the roster, we only have 69 guys currently on the Buffalo Bills roster, which means we still have to sign 21 players to fill that 90-man roster. So where are we going to go with those 21 players with $20 million in salary cap money? Well, first right off the bat, we know that we have 7 draft picks. Right now, again, the Bills could use, Brandon Beane could use some of the later draft picks to help move up in the earlier rounds. I fully expect him to do that. But as of right now, the Buffalo Bills have 7 draft picks. They don't have the first round draft pick due to the trade for Stefon Diggs, but they still have 7 draft picks. Those 7 draft picks, according to SpotTrack.com, will cost the Buffalo Bills anywhere between $7 and $8 million of salary cap money. So when you look at those players and you think that we're going to draft 7 players, we might not. Again, we might trade up and only draft 5 or 6 players, but still, if we draft 7 players, cost us $7 to $8 million, you're looking at $12 to $13 million then in cap space for the Buffalo Bills. And you also need to remember that Brandon Beane and the Buffalo Bills, and along with every team, they want to keep some salary cap dollars going into the regular season. You never know when a player is going to get hurt. You never know when a player is going to get suspended for testing positive for drugs or off the field issues otherwise, where they get suspended for 2 or 3 games. When that happens, you want to make sure you have money in the bank so that way you can go to the well, not necessarily have to go to the bottom of the barrel, maybe pick up a mediocre to a little below mediocre talent to bring into the team to fill that roster spot if you need to. Maybe bring in a scheme guy who might fit your scheme well for 1 or 2 games. Those are the type of players you're looking for, and those players cost dollars. Even if it's minimum salary, it's still $700,000, $800,000 for those players. So those count against the salary cap. Again, when you're looking at 69 current players on the roster, you have to fill a 90-man roster. You look at that 21 mil, and all of a sudden you say, hey, it's not as much money as we thought it once was. But there is $20 million in salary cap space. There is still some players where you can say the Buffalo Bills can readjust some contracts. I speak about Murphy all the time on this channel, making about $7 million more than I think he should be. I think Quentin Spain was a guy that was brought up before. Not Quentin Spain, I'm sorry. Spencer Long was a guy that was brought up on this channel before as making maybe a little too much money. Maybe you can renegotiate his contract. So there is some millions of dollars that you can save from other players, but you're still looking at a pretty tight budget. We went from third. We spent all the money, which was what we were supposed to do. We got that big trade for Stephon Diggs. I like what the moves the Buffalo Bills have made, but you still have to look at $20 million and you have to play smart. So can we afford any of the top talent? You look at Jadeveon Clowney, the top free agent available, and he's been in the news recently because he actually just told everyone that he's willing to take less money. Originally, when free agency started, he was thinking $20 million. That was his price tag. Now he's looking to take less per year. But the Buffalo Bills still probably can't afford whatever salary that is. Would it be nice to have a defensive end who's been around the league for a little bit, knows what he's doing, and can still be explosive? Absolutely. But if you look at his last year numbers, it just wasn't up to $18 million a year, in my opinion. We'll go over those numbers here in a second. But another thing you have to think about is with all these teams with the coronavirus, and as I've said in all my videos, guys, and I will continue to do so, make sure you're staying safe out there when it pertains to the coronavirus. Make sure you're practicing social distancing. Make sure you're heeding the CDC's advice when it comes to those type of things. I wish you all the best of health, and I hope you guys are all doing well. But when it comes to Jadeveon Clowney and some of the other guys on this list, remember, medical teams can't go check out these players yet because they're not allowed to be around each other due to social distancing. We cannot bring Jadeveon Clowney into Buffalo and see if he's a right fit for this culture, right fit for this team, if he fills a need for the Buffalo Bills. Again, I still think Jadeveon Clowney is asking for way too much money, not just for the Buffalo Bills, but for the type of player that he has become. When you look at his stats in the 2019 NFL season, you're talking about 11 starts, 13 games, 1 interception that was returned for a touchdown, 3 pass deflections, 4 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 of those returned for a touchdown, 3 sacks, and 31 tackles. Pretty solid, right? You can't argue with those numbers, but are those numbers worth $20 million a season? I don't think so. If you look at his overall career, 66 starts, 14 pass deflections, 8 forced fumbles, 8 fumble recoveries, 32 sacks, and 236 tackles. You like what he did in the past for the Houston Texans and then last year with the Seattle Seahawks, but you just don't know if this is kind of winding down his career, if he's at the end of his career, and if he could put up numbers that he used to for the Houston Texans. So I wouldn't pay him $18 million, and even if I would pay him $18 million, the Buffalo Bills cannot afford to pay Jadeveon Clowney $18 million. Again, let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think the Buffalo Bills should tighten their budget and go after a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, maybe add some money from some of the restructured deals we can make? Or do you think we move on from Jadeveon Clowney and say good luck wherever you go? It's not what the Buffalo Bills are looking for. The next player on this list in the top 100 is Cam Newton. Cam Newton, former quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, was released by the Carolina Panthers just this offseason, maybe 2 weeks ago now. Told that he could look for other teams. A lot of Bills fans were talking about Cam Newton being the backup quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. And again, if you watch the collaboration video that Mario did from #Sports with myself, Mario, and Dan from the Dan Mafia, I just don't think it's right. I just do not think that it's something that the Buffalo Bills should be looking at. Some of the Buffalo Bills should be looking at doing. Dan from the Don Mafia, he did a whole video on why the Buffalo Bills should not sign Cam Newton as a backup quarterback. And again, I flipped out about it, and I would still flip out about it if the Buffalo Bills signed Cam Newton. And, just so many reasons why it's not a smart decision. First of all, Cam Newton deserves, because he's been that good. Cam Newton deserves to be fighting for a starting job. He's not going to do that in Buffalo. In Buffalo, Cam Newton will be a backup to Josh Allen until Josh Allen struggles. But that's something you have to question. Right now, Josh Allen knows he's the guy. He knows that he's the starter. He knows Matt Barkley's there for his knowledge and to fill in if he gets hurt or, again, something unforeseen happens. If you bring in Cam Newton and Josh Allen struggles, then all of a sudden, reporters, teammates, coaches, they're going to be looking over Josh Allen's shoulder saying, hey, we do have that former MVP back there. Let's give him a shot. And we don't need that for Josh Allen. Josh Allen's earned the right to be a starter for the Buffalo Bills. If Cam Newton were to destroy his confidence or to come in and all of a sudden we don't know what we have in our 7th overall draft pick, what do we do next season? Remember, Cam Newton, even though, again, I think he deserves to be a starter somewhere, is not a spring chicken, right? He was a first-round draft pick in the 2011 NFL draft. That means he's been here for 9 seasons. This is going to be his 10th season coming up. He's not a spring chicken. Does he have some years left? Absolutely. And I wish him luck wherever he goes, but I just don't think that should be here in Buffalo. You should never pay your backup quarterback more than your starting quarterback, in my opinion. Again, unless it's a draft pick. I'm not sure if Matt Barkley makes more than Josh Allen just because of Josh Allen's salary. I don't think so, but who knows about that. Then you go down to cornerback Logan Ryan. Logan Ryan was a cornerback, 5'11", 195 pounds, plays college football at Rutgers University, was drafted by the New England Patriots in the 3rd round, spent time with New England, and then spent time with the Tennessee Titans. Last season was a great season for Logan Ryan. You want to speak of some good numbers. You want to talk about a guy that I wouldn't mind stretching the budget for. 16 starts, 4 interceptions, 18 pass deflections, 4 forced fumbles, 4.5 sacks, 113 tackles. Again, the Buffalo Bills have addressed the cornerback position pretty well this offseason. Talking about bringing in Josh Norman, talking about re-signing Levi Wallace, talking about, bringing in defensive back Dean Marlowe. We've done things this season to address that cornerback 2 position, but you do have to wonder, do the Buffalo Bills want more, right? And if you want to get greedy, there's the type of player I wouldn't mind you doing it on. If there's one guy on this list that I wouldn't mind you signing, it would be Logan Ryan, cornerback formerly of the Tennessee Titans. That's the one guy I'd say, yes, we're going after it, and this guy would definitely lock down that cornerback two position and make teams have to wonder who you gonna throw the ball to then. Who are you going to throw the ball to then? One more guy I wanted to talk about, again, a guy who used to play for the Buffalo Bills, and that's tackle Jason Peters. Listen, Jason Peters has been a tank for both the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles. He's had a great NFL career winding down. Like I said, this is going to be his 17th season in the NFL. Maybe he would be that solid anchor on a team that could use a rotational piece, right? Like the Buffalo Bills used Ty Nsekhe last year at tackle. Maybe they bring in Jason Peters to do the same thing. He plays less snaps, which helps with his age, and he becomes more of an option later on in the season. He hopefully maintains his health. We know that injuries have been stacking up for Jason Peters. They become an issue as of late, but we know he could be a dominant tackle when he's 100% healthy. So again, out of this list, the only guy I would consider bringing in is Logan Ryan. But when you look at this list, you just ask yourself, do the Buffalo Bills have enough money to go after a top 100 free agent? Again, those were the free agents still on the board. Jameis Winston's in there too. I put him in the same category as Cam Newton. You're talking about a guy that threw 30 touchdowns last season, deserves to have a chance. I know he threw 30 interceptions, deserves to have the chance to start somewhere this season in the NFL. Even if he doesn't become a starter, even if Cam doesn't become a starter, you know who the starter is in Buffalo. So don't try to sign one of them. Again, if you ask me if there's one guy I'm going to sign, it's going to be Logan Ryan. But I just don't think the Buffalo Bills have the salary cap space to do that. Again, let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think the Buffalo Bills can stretch that budget a little bit more? Or do you think we're pretty much done? We're going to sign some average, maybe a little below average players in free agency to fill in some roster spots, but the Buffalo Bills are looking good. Maybe the big splash move we're going to make is re-signing Tre'Davious White, restructuring his contract, I should say, giving him an extension. I would love to see that. You know, I'd report for you right here on Believers Talk. So again, if you're not subscribed to Believers Talk, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and leave a comment. What do you think about the potential of the Buffalo Bills signing another top 100 free agent? I put the percentage at about 10%, not that high. But again, if we sign Logan Ryan, good luck to opposing offenses passing on this defense. I look forward to talking to you all soon when we bring you more Buffalo Bills news. Draft right around the corner, so we're going to keep you up to date. But I'll see you soon. Until I do, go Bills.